Hello and welcome back to another historic chess game. This one was played in 1912 in Breslau, Germany, and this game contains the world's greatest queen sacrifice you've ever seen. The game was played between Stefan Levitsky, who was playing as white, and his opponent Frank Marshall, chess legend and chess prodigy. The game is so good, it will completely blow your mind, so without further ado, we will go straight into it. Stefan Levitsky opened the game with d4, we have e6, and after e4 and d5 game transposed into a French defense. White continues with knight to c3, and Frank Marshall decided to play his own variation with c5 gambiting this pawn. White for now doesn't take, and he continues with knight to f3, although I will show you what else White had in mind here. So after c5, White could immediately take on d5, and after e takes on d5, d takes on c5, Frank Marshall would probably continue with knight to f6, and after bishop e3, bishop e7, knight to f3, and castle, Black would continue to pressure this pawn with moves like bishop e6 first, then queen to c7, and then later create some a4 if White decides to defend this pawn with b4. So this is just showing you what could have happened, but after c5, White responded with knight to f3. Frank Marshall continues the game with knight to c6, we have e takes on d5, e takes on d5, and bishop e2 played for White, getting ready for castle. We have knight to f6 developing move for Black, and after castle for White, Black also plays bishop e7, and he wants to castle as well. We have bishop to g5, now trying to pressure this knight. Castle for Black, and in this position White decided to pick up this pawn with d takes on c5. Firstly, Frank Marshall plays bishop to e6, he defends this pawn, and then later he will be able to pick up this pawn if White allows it. Game continued with knight to d4, right now pressuring this knight, also attacking this bishop, and now Frank Marshall decided to play bishop picks up on c5, which is the best move. Just to show you, after knight to d4, if you decide to take this knight, yes, you will save your bishop pair, but after queen takes on d4, White still has a pawn advantage and he protects this pawn. So it is important to pay attention what you will play. That is the reason why bishop takes on c5 was played for Frank Marshall. And finally, we have knight picking up on e6. And f takes on e6, and as you can see in this position, Frank Marshall decided to sacrifice his bishop pair, but right now the situation changed. Now this central pawn is defended and this rook opened up on this f-file. So this is good for Black. We have bishop to g4 right now. Of course, this is not a free bishop because your queen is pinned, and now he is attacking this pawn here on e6. We have queen to d6 for Frank Marshall defending this pawn, and right now bishop to h3, simply right now with queen no longer pinned, this bishop was hanging here on g4. Game continued with rook a to e8, simply developing your last undeveloped piece. White continues with queen to d2, and right now Frank Marshall played bishop to b4 with the idea to pin this knight and then later push d4 and capture this knight. Game continued with bishop picks up on f6 for White, rook picks up on f6, and now you see that f takes on e6 was a great move because right now this rook feels so comfortable here on the open f-file, and then later he can maybe move to h or g files if needed. Game continued with rook a to d1, and it looks like White missed a tactic with d4 here. Now I want you to pause the video, let me know if this move is a possibility here for Frank Marshall, and of course I will show you the solution. So this move is not a good move for Black. So in case d4 is played, then White has knight e4. And right now, if you take this queen, we can take your queen, and right now your rook is under attack. If you go rook to d8, then we have knight to e4 attacking your other rook here and attacking your bishop as well. And simply we will be an exchange up. After bishop takes on e5, you will pick up this, and you simply will be an exchange up. So this is not a good move. After d4, if after knight goes on e4, you go for example with queen to e7 defending this bishop, then firstly White will pick up this with a check, and after you go there, he will simply move up his queen, and again he won an exchange. So this is not a good move here for Frank Marshall. That is the reason why after rook a to d1, queen c5 was played. White continued the game with queen to e2, and we have bishop picking up on c3, b takes on c3, and right now Frank Marshall picks up this pawn. White continues the game with rook picking up on d5 using this beautiful pin on the e-file and this rook. Now guys, it's another quiz time. Do let me know if it is a good thing for Black to pick up this rook. Pause the video and of course I will give you the solution. And the answer that it is not, because after e takes on d5, queen picks up this rook with a check, and after you block the only move, White continues with bishop e6 check, and after king goes on h8, queen picks up on f8 is a checkmate. So you have to be careful, one move and you lose the game. So after rook picks up on d5, Frank Marshall continues with knight to d4, right now pressuring this queen. And right now white decided to play queen to h5, simply putting the queen closer to the enemy king and maybe create some sort of a counter attack of his. But white had another option here. After knight to d4, white had this move queen to e4, but then black would continue with rook to f4, a beautiful tactic, because now you cannot take this rook because black has knight to e2, and this is a fork and you will lose your queen. But after rook to f4, actually the best for black or for white is to play queen to e5, and white is doing just fine. But after knight to d4 and queen to h5, black now continues with rook e to f8. Another good news for black that this f-file is open, because now these rooks are double stacked and they are already creating a lot of threats. White continues the game with rook to e5 because this rook was hanging on d5. And now Frank Marshall had a nice way to win this game, but he decided to create some spectacular tactics. Simply winning here was rook picks up on f2, and right now if you decide to pick up this rook, then queen to a1 with a check, and now you sacrifice your queen, we take, you sacrifice your rook, we take that, and after rook to f1, queen picks up on f1 is a checkmate. Frank Marshall had this option, but after rook to e5, he decided to play for even better. Rook h6, attacking this queen. Now you might be wondering, so what's the point of that? I can simply move my queen. Yes, my dear viewer, but now we have this brilliant sacrifice. Rook takes on h3. Now what is the point of this move? Well, now if you decide to pick up this rook, black has this brilliant knight to f3 check and triple fork, and your queen is gone and you will lose your game. But after rook takes on h3, what else is there for white? White now decided to play rook to c5, calmly attacking this queen, thinking that after this queen moves somewhere, I don't know, for example like here, maybe white can continue with rook to c7 and then pressure this g7 square and maybe go for checkmate. But Frank Marshall now creates the most spectacular queen sacrifice ever seen in the chess game. Feel free to pause the video and let me know if you can find the brilliant queen sacrifice. And if not, of course, I will show you. This brilliant queen sacrifice is queen to g3. Look at this spectacular queen sacrifice. You can take with your pawn, you can take with your another pawn, and you can even take with your queen, but nothing works well for you. Now let's see immediately if you take with your h pawn, h takes on g3. This simply leaves you with knight to e2 checkmate. The king cannot go to h-file. So after queen to g3, what happens if you take with f takes on g3? Then again, knight e2 check. You cannot go to f-file, you have to go to h1, and brilliant rook picks up on f1 is the checkmate. After queen to g3, if you decide to pick up this with your queen, then we continue with knight to e2 check, and after king goes on h1, we continue with knight to g3 check. If you go for this, then this is a checkmate, you cannot go for that. After knight to g3 check, you can move your king, for example, on g1, which is the pretty much only move, and after knight e2, king goes on h1, we go for this trade, and we simply win because we are a piece up in the endgame. But let's see what would happen if after queen to g3 you simply avoid picking up this queen and you play something random like queen to e5. Then Frank Marshall has another spectacular checkmate sequence with a brilliant knight to f3 check. Of course, you cannot pick up with your pawn, your queen is hanging, but this is not the point. You want to get checkmated. Look at these three pieces, every piece is hanging and you cannot take either one of these pieces. So after king to h1, a rook takes on h2 is immediate checkmate, but you can even go for more spectacular checkmate. After knight to f3, of course, and king to h1, you can even sacrifice your queen, and after the only queen takes on h2, brilliant rook takes on h2, and this king is simply trapped here. After queen to e5, you can even play knight to e2 check, sacrificing your knight. If white decides to pick up this knight, then queen to h2 is the checkmate. But if white doesn't want to take this knight and he goes on h1, then rook takes on h2 is the spectacular checkmate. And this is how this brilliant game ended, guys, and this is all I have prepared for you today. If you enjoyed this game, please make sure to leave a comment, like, and share this video with other people who enjoy chess, because word of mouth referrals really help my channel grow. Also, if you want to comment about this position, do let me know. If you have some questions, have I missed something in the analysis? Do you think there was some escape here for white? Always let me know. I always enjoy reading your comments, guys. And of course, do let me know if you think that this is the greatest queen chess sacrifice in chess history, or maybe you have some other games you would like to share with me. Do let me know in the comments below, guys. Thank you so much. As you all know, I want to become a full-time YouTuber, and your support really means a lot to me. So if you can, please watch the videos until the very end, or at least try and watch until the half of the video, because it really helps me a lot. And also your comments and your engagement do really help me a lot. I would really like to get another one of my videos viral, and your help would be much appreciated with that, guys. If you can, please help me with that. I really appreciate it. And as always, we will see each other in the next video. I wish you a pleasant day. Bye bye.